Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City, where we want to help you build a Lego city regardless of the space you have. Many subscribers over the months have asked me to do a video on detailing the interior of a small Lego house, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here today. We're going to explore how to detail a small Lego house, and I'll be working with a footprint of just 12 studs by 12 studs, and I've laid it out over here with these 1 by something long plates, but that really means we're working with an interior space of 10 by 10 studs. I'm working with this space for this demonstration just to showcase the different techniques of space saving and maximizing of space. You can apply these techniques and this approach to larger buildings, and you'll be able to create a very varied and densely detailed interior regardless of the size of your building. So if you can figure out the right techniques with a smaller building, it's very easy to apply it to a larger building, but not the other way around. I know that many people also don't have a large space for a large Lego city, and one way to fit a Lego city in a small space is to build smaller buildings. So you will want to know how to detail those smaller buildings so that you can get more out of your Lego city. So let's get started. What I've done over here is pre-laid out the plates and the tiles. This will represent the front sidewalk, and this is basically just the perimeter of the building. This is really where the walls will be built on, and all the interior detail and tiling will be built within the space. This will be a single-story building. I will not be focusing on the exterior of the building. I'll just lay one line of brick just so that you can see it in relation to the interior. This will be a single-story building with one door, so there'll be no back door. One reason is it is pretty small, and I need to fit as much as I can within this small space. Because this is a house, I want to be as realistic as possible, so I want to fit in a bedroom, a kitchen, and a toilet. That seems really ambitious for such a small space, but that's one of my specialties, designing interiors for small spaces. And that's why we're not called Big Brick City. And that's why we aren't called Big Brick. And that's why we aren't called Big Brick City. Well, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is to lay out the wall. So this is the front. I'm going to leave this open first, and I'll use these masonry bricks, and I'm just going to lay out the perimeter on 3 sides for the wall. And here we have the exterior of the wall set up on 3 sides. I've just done the base. I'm not going to build it up. You just have to imagine that the house will be built since the focus is on the interior. I've not filled in this area, and there's a reason for that, and that's because we have to figure out where to place the door. This is important for smaller builds like this. When you're working with a large building such as one on a 32 by 32 stud base plate, you can build the entire structure first and then fit the interior inside. And that's because you generally have more space. But when you're working with a smaller build, you have to work in tandem. You have to think about the interior details and where certain access points are placed, and that includes windows and doors. See, the reason is if I place the door right in the center, which is a very common feature for many houses, you have to imagine that you can't have anything blocking the accessway of the door. So therefore, what we need to do is to have a look at the different interior furniture or different builds that we want to include into the house. And I've got some small builds over here. I'm hoping to fit most of these inside. I definitely want a bed, and I've got a nice bed over here. I've got a fridge, a stovetop with an oven, a chest of drawers. Of course, this is very important. This is a toilet, and we've got a sink. I doubt I'll be able to fit everything inside, so we'll see what we can best utilize. So the key here is to figure out roughly what items you'd like to include in your build. You may not know exactly what you want to include, but you may want to pre-build certain items and then try to fit them in. So in this case, what I'm going to do is to start off with the largest item, and that's the one with the largest area space. And you want to figure out where you're going to place it in the house, and that will determine where your door goes. And the reason is because this is big. If I decide to put my bed here, there's no way I can put the door here, because when you open the door, you just knock into the bed. Therefore, you either have to shift it to the side like that, or you need to move the bed over there. And in that case, you can then put this anywhere you like. So that's one possibility. But one thing I do have to think about is the toilet. So I definitely want a toilet and a shower. After all, this is a house and not a cave. So I need to figure out where I want to put the toilet. And generally, I try to follow the rules of common sense and what is realistic for a real house. You won't have a toilet, for example, right at the door. You might have one right here, but I do want privacy, so I will need to build some kind of door and some privacy wall so that one cannot see into the toilet. Therefore, if I had another doorway here or wall, I would have to shift the door aside. But generally for me, when I build toilets, I do like to put them towards the back. And the reason is, for the front of a Lego building, I like to have windows in the front and at the sides, and if I can, at the back. So if possible, I do not want the toilet right here because I'll have a window right here, and it's probably not so nice to have one right there. So my thoughts are to put the toilet towards the back. That means my bed will have to be either next to it, like that, or somewhere here. Now I'm going to share with you one tip when I do designing, especially for small spaces. As far as possible, you want to build your furniture and small builds against the walls. The reason is, once you place something in the middle of the room, for example, let's just take this bed. If you place this bed in the middle of the room, you basically can't put anything else. If I had a fridge, the fridge door can't open. So you always want to build against the walls as far as possible. That means you will want to put your door to one side, not in the middle. In this case, I'm going to put the bed probably along this wall. That means I'll need to put the door at least here or here. Now, why would I decide to put the door here instead of here? And that's because of space management and maximizing the space. If I have the door here, that means I couldn't place anything reasonably, probably within 3 studs. And that's a general rule. If you want to have space next to or between furniture, or you want space around furniture, for a minifig, you want at least 3 studs. Anything less would probably be a bit too cramped and cluttered. So you want 3 stud space. Therefore, if I had a fridge or any other furniture, I couldn't put it here, but that means I'm losing space. So therefore, it makes sense to leave 2 bricks here so that I could place a whole row of furniture on this wall over here, and it doesn't block the door. And since this space is wasted, this is the middle of the room, I'm not going to put anything in the middle of the room for the reasons I gave earlier on. So it makes sense to put the door here. So for this particular build, I'm definitely putting the door here. That means I can build my wall around the placement of my door, which would be here. So now that I figured out where the door is, it makes it easier for me to plan the rest of the interior and furniture. When I put in these small builds, I do not press them down yet because I will be building tiles on top of this base plate, and I'll be using jumper plates to secure the furniture down. So right now I just loosely place these small builds on so that I can move them about when I need. So now I need to figure out where I want to put the toilet. So as I said, I will put the toilet likely somewhere around here. So that would be along this back row, which means that I can try to put the rest of the furniture here along this wall. So if I want to maximize space, and for logic, let's do this. Let's put the fridge here. I think that's fine, even though that's close. And then I can put this oven somewhere here, and this chest of drawers here, or I could switch them around like that as well, or I could even do this. But generally, I think I have enough space to put all those items. No space for the sink yet. So that means the most logical place to put the toilet would be here with this layout. So I have to figure out where to put the toilet. So let's just roughly put it down here. But I do need that privacy wall or door. So if I had a door frame, I could technically put it somewhere here like that. Now the problem with this, as you can see, it's really close to the fridge because I talked about 3 stud space. So I would move the fridge over here, and I could do, maybe I could even move this over here, and this comes here. And now there's enough space, as you can see, there's clearance, and that would make pretty good sense. So this is one option. I could definitely build a wall here. That's the door and the space, and I've managed to fit everything in from the bed to the toilet, to the different kitchen appliances and equipment there. I can't put this tap in. So what I do want is also some kind of shower. So remember, if I put a wall here, there's not much space for a shower here. So this is what I'm going to do. I think this layout is good, but we shouldn't use this particular door frame. What I'm going to use is a diagonal door frame like this. And what this does is it creates a bit of space here where I can put a shower, yet I still have access to the door. Okay, that's pretty close, but it's all right. I can move this in by 1 stud. That doesn't block anything. The door is not blocked. And if I move the toilet here to this corner, realistically, I've got a bit of space over here. And I always like to do the minifig test. So if you have a minifig standing by, let me grab a minifig right over here. I can take the minifig and I can place him into the space. So technically he does have a space for a shower. It's going to be tight. So in this case, the shower head and the taps will be built into the wall. So I won't be doing it for this demonstration, but you have to imagine that the shower head and the taps will be built into the wall. So the shower will be here, coming down here. And that would be enough space for this guy to have a shower, use the toilet when he needs. And we'll just assume he uses the same tap for the shower for his home, since this is so small. And there's just enough space for a door to open. There's enough clearance, 3 studs, and still enough space to realistically imagine that those drawers open. So this is basically how I work out my space to put the different things. So once I've determined the space, now we have to figure out how to place things down. So what I'm going to do is lay down some jumper plates where I'm going to put these items down. So for example, for the bed, I'm going to use these 1x4 jumper plates. I'll place one here, and I'll place one here. So that's where my bed will be placed on in just a bit. I now have to also place the rest of the furniture. Let's start with this particular fridge build. This is a bit of a different build, as you can see. So I need jumper plates to put it in. I'll use 2 jumper plates. That's 1x2 jumper plates, and I'll place them right here. One here and one here. This will allow me to place the fridge right there. But if you notice, there is exposed studs on the left and the right of the fridge. So I can do this now. I'm just going to towel that area with 1x2 towels, and I'll just stick to white because I'm going to with an internal white tiling. Again, I'm not going for necessarily the aesthetic design here because this is just for demonstration purposes, but to just cover this plate, I'm going to use white towels, and that fits here. Next, I can do the same for the stove, which I have over here, and I'll use a jumper plate in white. And for the chest of drawers, let's use another 1x4 jumper plate. And just like that, I have marked out exactly where my different items will be. So if I put them here, that looks right. That goes next to it. I think this can go in just a bit. Yep. And there we have it. We have one side of the interior details already done. Well, 2 sides if you include the bed. But now we have to go to the toilet. So for the toilet, this is my toilet. That's the flush. That's the toilet bowl. I'm going to put it here. Remember, I need a privacy wall because this is where my bed is. So I do not want to be looking into the toilet. So we're going to use a wall of 1x3 bricks. And I'll place it right here like that. So that's the privacy wall. But notice we need to cover these exposed studs. So what I'm going to do is just take this out for now, and I'll put in some tiles. Let's look for a 1x3 tile and a 1x1 tile, and maybe a grilled plate as well. So that's a 1x3 that will go here. Let's move this out of the way first. Put back the toilet. So remember, I said this is where the, oops, sorry, that is wrong. Let's do that. So always have your brick separator handy. Yeah, that works better because this would sit in here. I got that wrong again because that's where the wall is going. So let's dig it out. So there is a lot of trial and error process, and I'm sure you guys make mistakes when you build as well. I make the most mistakes. The way I build, I generally always build and pull things out and rebuild again. And so that's where it's going to be. Notice there is exposed studs here, and that's for the shower. So what I'm going to do is just put in this grill part to act as drainage for the water. So that looks like that. And I can place this here. And once I put the wall in place, that looks pretty good. Everything looks clean. And because this is a loose wall, what you want to do when you actually do your build, there's several things you want to do. You probably want to use some 1x4 brick or a corner brick so that you can build it with the wall so that this is not loose. So you always want to integrate it with the wall. Every time you build, make sure your internal walls are integrated with your exterior walls. And I would probably do some tiling, and just for now I'll place this over here. That's a 1x4 tile, and that is just to hold it in place. So everything looks good. What I want to do now is to tile the rest of the floor because I do not like exposed studs. So let's use different tiles and just use 2x2 tiles. I'm going to move this out of the way for now, and I'll just put this in like that. And of course you can use any colors you want, and the idea is just to fill up the entire floor so that it looks really finished and nice. Instead of all tiles, you can use a jumper plate as well, such as this. Maybe you want to stand a minifig somewhere. So let's say I want a minifig to stand here. I could probably do this somewhere here like that. But I can see what the issue is. This would be the issue. There will be some exposed studs. So once again, I'm going to do my removal and you understand what I mean. First, let's tile up this area with a 1x4. Just due to the use of this particular, I guess, a corner door frame, you're going to be left with this angled plate, exposed plate. Then you can use these triangle tiles. These are relatively new pieces, but they work really well like that. You can use that to cover that. And I should have one more here that I can use to cover that. And now I can replace this. That's where my minifig will stand. And we can cover this here. So this is the bed. I do just want, for the sake of completeness, to cover this up. So let's just, I'm not too worried because the bed is covering most of it, so I don't need to worry so much about the alignment because people can't see it anyway, but I do want it finished. So we'll just place that there and this over there. And now my entire interior is tiled. The jumper plates are in place, ready to receive all the different furniture. So let's put everything back inside. We'll put the chest of drawers here, put the stove and the fridge, the bed. Well, it's up to you. Well, let's just put the head of the bed here, and we can put this door frame back. I won't put any doors again, just to show you. And we can put a minifig here, and everything looks pretty comfortable. And we've managed to squeeze an entire realistic living quarters inside with the kitchen and a shower and a toilet, all within this tiny space of interior space of 10 studs by 10 studs. I can't put this inside. That's all right. I'm fine with that. And that's how you designed the interior of a small Lego house. I hope you found this video useful on how to detail the inside of a small Lego house. Regardless of the size of the building, the basic approach will remain the same. You work out the different furniture or equipment that you want in a particular building and start off with the largest, and then decide where to put access points like the doors and windows. In this case, you can see where the windows will likely be. There can be one set over here so that when you're cooking, you can look out of the window. There can be a window by the door over here and by the bed as well. Obviously, no windows at the bathroom, but you can have high ones right above over here. So when you're building a building, feel free to build the exterior as you would, but be prepared to make changes as you put the interior details in, and you might need to adjust the positions of your windows or the size and height of the windows. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel and be sure to check out these two videos before you go.